trans. And that is celebratory, right? It
Yeah.
is choosing whatever that path looks like, knowing that there's a lot about yourself that you don't get to choose. So when you choose to just embrace all of you, that can be such a profound, powerful moment. And I love hearing you say, listen, I'm going to embrace all of me publicly. I'm going to
Yeah.
let people see every part of it for myself because that's who I am and that's what it means to be me. And it does show people that the trans community does not look like one thing and
Yeah.
that we all have different experiences. And most importantly, there isn't one path towards perfect transgender person, right? There's
Yeah.
so many different ways to be part of our community, and those things should be celebrated.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, I love it. It's powerful. Speaking of celebrating, how do you celebrate being trans? What does that look like for you?
Oh, there's see, now that's a loaded one. How do I celebrate being trans? I think every day walking outside of my door is a celebration. Um, Going out as myself is a celebration. Being okay as walking through the grocery store on a regular day or going shopping on a regular day, to me, those are ways of me celebrating who I am and who I am as being trans. I know, once again, it goes back to image. A lot of people are afraid to go out, worried about what people are going to say to them, and them being clocked, and they're not that quote unquote passable moment. I literally celebrate life every day, walking out with a head full of hair and tiptoeing around, and just being honestly open with who I am. I don't think it's like, oh, like, because I know it's not celebration in the sense of, oh, let's throw a party. It's more of celebrating life and just celebrating what I've been given, and I've been given the opportunity to live freely. And obviously, being trans is not like a walk in the park. It is a very, very complicated thing. And being trans, you honestly, the dark side of it, you put your life in danger every time you walk outside the door. And a lot of people don't get into those kinds of topics, but it's the truth. And I think I celebrate my transness every day I walk outside of my house, knowing that I'm living no matter what any other opinion is going to be or what other people think. So I celebrated doing the normal stuff, breathing every day, honestly.
I love that, right? Just existing and doing life
Existence.
is
Yeah.
celebratory.
I mean,
Yeah.
shopping too. Don't get me wrong, because I shop, honey.
Mm-hmm,
Listen,
mm-hmm.
before I transitioned, I wasn't caring about the shopping and stuff. But baby, Miss Demoria is expensive, and she likes a lot of things. So yeah, obviously there's the positive side and the role model side of living authentically, but there's also the very expensive side of shopping. We celebrate that way too.
I love that. I love that. So, okay, that you said that was a loaded question. I have another loaded question.
Oh, let's go.
Um, I'm wondering if someone said to you, and that someone is currently me, what are you here in the world to do? Broad question. How would you answer that question?
It goes back to the last one. I'm here to exist, because I believe they say drag, obviously, because I'm a professional drag queen. They say drag is a political statement in itself. Getting ready is a political statement in itself. I think being trans exceeds that tremendously, in the sense of just existing in the world and living your authentic truth in the world is more than enough reason to be here and why you are here. So the term existing seems very vague, but it's also very true, if it makes sense. It's in the sense of you existing is doing so much for the world. You existing out loud is doing so much for the world. So honestly, I feel like I'm here to exist, and that has many branches of educating younger people, educating myself, educating my family and those around me. So honestly, it's existing and being a teacher. That's what we are, and that's, I think, our entire purpose.
Whew, you know, honestly, that statement of I am here in the world to exist is powerful. That has me with goosebumps just to think about that as a statement for the trans community, because you're right. You brought up a little bit that uh, some folks don't want to talk about the challenges or the difficulties that the trans community has to face, right?
Right.
Um, and we do have Trans Day of Remembrance every year in the fall. And a lot of times I think we think of Trans Day of Visibility as, you know, if Trans Day of Remembrance is a time to remember those who we've lost in this existence, um, Trans Day of Visibility is a time to say we are here and we deserve joy and we deserve to be celebrated. However, that doesn't mean that we forget.
Yeah.
And
Oh
that
yeah.
doesn't mean that just because there's a day where folks are celebrating us, that we don't also take with us our power in
Right.
existence. That we don't take with us who we are and say, I deserve to exist. And I think that that statement alone is beautiful. So I appreciate you simplifying it in such a pretty and impactful way.
Oh, thank you. I try sometimes.
All right. Not that we need to make Trans Day of Visibility about cisgender folks, but I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that we have a lot of cisgender friends who are saying, hey, I want to show up for the trans community. I want to be an ally for the trans community. And I'm curious if you've thought of ways that you're like, hey, this is how the cisgender community could show up for me and the trans community. This is what I would like to see more of.
Honestly, oof. How do see that? How do I put this? I think because like I have a lot of cisgender people, um, behind me, and backing me in a lot of ways. For instance, my brothers. Everyone knows my brothers are like my best friends on the entire planet. And I honestly think standing up for us is the best way to do it. I was just back home in South Carolina 2 days ago and had a drag show there. Met up with all of my family. We had like a good gathering, cookout. You know how you do it in the South. I get to the yard. We're eating and all this stuff. There's like lots of whispers trying to figure out things. For me in particular. So I just paused the music and I let everybody know. All right, look, this is where we are. It's she/her pronouns at all times. This is where we stand. Point blank. Period. Let's stop the whispers. This is where we are. Cool. At that moment in time, there was not a moment in the yard and they weren't doing it intentionally. They're still learning. It's a learning process for all of them. I have both my brothers, who are my older brothers, both heterosexual, big Southern men, walk around the yard correcting everyone, saying that she, her, and that's our sister. And instead of saying, "Oh, this is our mom's," like we have three boys, it was very much her two sons and her daughter. And it was the most simplest thing for them correcting everyone and making sure they're on their toes about it. I think the best thing cisgender and the heterosexual community or whatever could do is honestly stand up and make those simple moments heard. The most simplest things can change your mindset in your day. That made my day. I felt so much more comfortable. Obviously, it's my family. I grew up with them, but this was my first time showing up as my authentic self, back at home. And by them doing that, it made me so much more comfortable and it made me more relaxed. There's so much that they can do, but the start of it is making sure we hold everyone around us accountable, and not just when it's convenient, not when it's just like, oh, it's just us and like two or three people. No, do it all the time. If there's a situation, there's a group of people, there's a group of your friends, or there's a group of people and they're misgendering someone or they're treating someone differently, stand up, not just when it's convenient for you, but at all times. So that's a start. That's the easiest start, honestly. Support. 100%.
It's so true. And I think people take for granted how powerful that automatic stated support can be.
Yeah.
I think about, I've had a lot of folks ask me, I'm a foster parent, and sometimes the kiddos that come to live with us are part of the trans community or part of the LGBT community. And I have a lot of folks say, well, if I were raising a trans child, how can I respond? And what I always say is, the very first words out of your mouth should be, I love you. And the next words out of your mouth should be, I am proud of you for being who you are. Because
Yep.
love and pride in ourselves is a way that cis folks, that allies, that family can show up and be family. At Trevor, we talk a lot about how just one accepting adult can reduce a young person's risk for attempting suicide by 40%. And we could all be that one accepting adult, and we all should be that one accepting adult. And to hear your family, at least some folks in your family saying, I'm going to step up, show up, and affirm, is such a powerful, loving statement and a true way to be an ally.
And it worked out perfectly. So like there's we're all like adults now, but we have 14. There's 14 grandkids that are in our family. And obviously everyone has their like own families now, and like everybody's like adulting and big adults now. And it was I was more nervous to go there than I think they were, in a sense. I think they were nervous on the side of not I think they didn't understand what to say, how to say it, and what to say to me. I have another queer cousin in our family, and their biggest thing they kept saying to me, oh, the family is wondering if you're coming dressed up. Their family is wondering like how you're gonna look. And I'm like, it's not necessarily dressing up to me. This is me every day. It's not a costume. So I made it my duty. I got done up, put on the good old, human unit, threw on the dress, walked inside of the yard as loud and as bold as possible. And I was not afraid, but I was nervous to see how my family will react, like my cousins, the ones I grew up with. And shockingly, they were the most cool with it. They were the most calm with it. And all the rest of the family came around to be more confident, and it became more of a normal setting. But it was so great to see all of my, and mind you, there's 14 of us. 2 of us are part of the queer community. The rest of them are full-blown cisgender heterosexuals. Embrace me as they would before I walked into the yard like this. They embraced me as the kid I was, you know what I'm saying? Like prior to what I present myself as now. So it was so weird because I was the one that was the most afraid of it. But getting there, it was like all normal. They talked trash to me, just like we always talk trash to each other as kids, and treated me just the same. So it was great to see it in that sense. But I think they're being more educated, and I'm glad I could walk into that environment to educate them more and to make them feel comfortable, not necessarily for me, but for more trans and non-binary people that they encounter in the future. And it won't be awkward for them in the future. It'll be more side of, oh, my cousin is transgender. I know how she wants to be treated. I should treat the next person the same way. So I feel like I am teaching my family more than I think I am in the best way possible, not just for me, but for when they go outside in the regular world. And they see someone who's like me, or not necessarily who looks like me, but identifies as something different. It's easier for them to communicate. My brother does all the time. My brother follows RuPaul's Drag Race more than I do. My brother follows people on RuPaul's Drag Race more than I do. And he's heterosexual, married with children. But he learned so much from me, and I think that's the greatest thing. And in my sense of it, it's just educating them accidentally once again to treat the world how they're supposed to be treated. So cis hetero people out there in the world, girl, get it together, show some support, because it's not that deep, honey. All you got to do is just treat some people with respect, and I guarantee you it'll go a long way.
Yes.
A long way.
Sometimes it just baffles me that our immediate response isn't be you.
Yeah.
That our immediate response isn't take power in who you are, and that we automatically go to fear, or we automatically go to shame when people tell us who they are. We don't listen. And that is just such a complicated part of our community. But when people do listen, when people do show up, when people do embrace and accept, it's a radical act of love. And I don't think it has to be. I wish there was a world where it wasn't so radical to just automatically love every trans person in your life.
Absolutely.
But for all of you on this Instagram Live, the fact that you are showing up and committing to trans folks, not just on Trans Day of Visibility, but 365 days a year and
Yep.
366 days on the leap year, you have got to show up and accept and embrace. And I love that message, Cornbread.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, real quick, because we only have a couple minutes left and I really want to hear your answer to this.
No, child, I sit here and talk to you all day.
I know. How do we've talked a lot about all these other variables, but how do you take care of your own mental health in the face of everything that we've talked about today? How do you prioritize your own mental health?
I'll say this out loud to the world because I'm not afraid of it in any sense. I go to therapy twice a week. I'll stop everything I do to go to therapy, not to necessarily say because I'm not being heard, because I do have people I talk to. But as far as the therapist, there's some things I can say to them that I ain't got to worry about, getting out, leaking to anybody else. But I do that for myself personally, because mental health is real. I'm very open about it, and I'll touch back on this subject on this show. I talked about moments when I was younger, not wanting to wake up and not wanting to once again, the word exist and to be here, because I was confused on who I was and what I was at the time. And education as far as mental health in the African American community, as well as the world just in general, it's not something we talk much about. It's not much that I knew about it as well. And it wasn't until I left my home and I moved in with one of my friends who I was in theater with, and her family embraced me, and they never asked me what I was, who I was, and why I was the way I was. Never asked me anything about femininity. It was more so, you go to school, do what you need to do, call it a day. It was very much I was embraced. And at that moment, I knew that there was more to mental health as a person, because I never touched on the subject of mental health. And it took someone taking me in and showing me so much love and not questioning who I was to realize that there was more to it, and there's more to life when it comes to happiness. Obviously, there's been moments where I thought suicide was the only answer until someone educated me and showed me that it's okay to be who I am. And that's honestly the family that I moved in with once I left my home. They taught me that there was more to life than just being stressed out about who you are and not knowing who. My mental health every day because of them. As soon as I moved to California and I went to college, the first thing I did was get a therapist. I've had the same therapist for 10 years, and we talk twice a week, and it's the greatest thing that I can do. So I encourage everyone, especially in the queer community, the LGBTQIA plus community. There's so many outlets to free therapists. There's so many outlets to therapists in general that are dedicated to us and how we think and how we feel. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of counseling. There is nothing wrong with having a counselor. There's nothing wrong with talking to a therapist and taking care of your mental health. That's my best way of doing it, honestly, is therapy. Without it, I don't know where I'd be today in this world. Because there's a lot that goes on in this head, and there's a lot of dark past and trauma that I've had to deal with. And therapy is the way to do it. So if you don't have someone to speak out, and if my inbox is too full, baby, find your therapist. There's so many ways to do it and to take care of your mental health.
Yes, 3 times, 4 times, 1,000 times. Everything that you just said, I think, is so important. Prioritizing your mental health. All right, in our last couple of seconds together, is there anything, we have probably some trans and non-binary youth out there who are watching right now or who are going to watch this back later. Do you have anything you want to say to trans and non-binary youth on Trans Day of Visibility as sort of a closing statement?
Yes. It won't be advice. It's more on the side of admiration. Plain and simple, thank you. Not necessarily thank you for anything in particular other than existing. And if you're watching this and you are struggling with self-identity, know that it's okay, and there's no rush. There's not a rush to it. at all. If you want to wait until there's a safe place for you to do it, wait until there's a safe place for you to do it. But also realize there's so many people backing you. There's so many people on your side, and your life matters. You matter. You existing matter. And honestly, it's cliche as it sounds. It does get better. Life does get 100% better. Literally, thank you for existing, every last one of y'all, because without us existing in this world, there'll be such a lack of greatness. So great job on you. Thank you so much for existing. Plain and simple.
Thank you. Thank you. Trans is beautiful. Happy Trans Day of Visibility. Find a way to celebrate Trans Joy today. And I'm so appreciative of your time. And I hope everyone out there has a great rest of Trans Day of Visibility.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, happy Trans Day of Visibility, honey. Let's get it started.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, love. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Please.